Welcome everyone to our next lesson on solving percent problems. Before we get started, please do a quick warm-up on your whiteboard or some scratch paper. So what I want you to do are these 7 problems, and I did start you off on a couple of them. So remember that percent means per 100. So 16% is 16 per 100. And then what we want to do is put it in simplest form. So um, go ahead and do those. And then also 0.4% is 0.4 over 100. And then remember we want to get rid of this decimal. So this is in the tens place. So multiply numerator and denominator by 10 and then simplify. All right, and then when we're going from a fraction to a percent, we want to try and find out what is the number per 100. So we can cross multiply, which probably come in handy with the 40ths here, or you can do equivalent fractions. And then finally we have the sentence here, 22 is what percent of 25. So again, it's always the part is a percent of a whole. And we set up fractions as part over whole, and that is our percent over 100. So go ahead and give those a try. All right, so here are the answers to these. I'll let you go ahead and look at that. But again, on option F here, this is where cross products would come in handy because there's no easy way to go from 40 to 100 using multiplication. All right, so let's go ahead and keep going with our work. So today we're going to really be looking for the part in the part to whole ratio. I'm going to show you 3 different techniques. The first one's fraction multiplication, then some ones that we've done before, equivalent fractions, and our cross products with cross multiply and divide. So let's start with fraction multiplication. So the first tip is whenever you're working with percents, go ahead and simplify them first. That's going to make your life a lot easier when you're doing any type of computation. Then the next piece of knowledge that we need to know about is the word of. When we're talking decimals or fractions or percents means multiply. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 25% times 40. But first what we're going to do is we're going to change this 25% into a fraction. So 25% is 25 per 100. And then, like I said up here, let's simplify that to make our computation that much easier. So in the end, 25% is 1/4, which I'm sure most of you knew off the top of your head. All right, so now we're going to do 1/4 of 40. So 1/4 of means multiply 40. And again, how do we multiply a fraction by a whole number? Well, we put the whole number over 1, because 40 divided by 1 is still 40. And now we can go ahead and do the multiplication. So I'm going to simplify before I multiply. So 4 and 40 are both divisible by 4. And what we end up is 1 times 10 is 10, 1 times 1 is 1, and 10 over 1 is 10. So let's write this as a sentence. So now we know that 10 is 25% of 40. And that would be our answer for that one. All right, now let's look at 60% of 150. So let's change 60% into a simplified fraction. So we have 60 over 100. These are both divisible by 20. That gives us 3/5. So we want to do 3/5 of 150. And again, we'll put 150 over 1. 150 and 5 are both divisible by 5, so that gives us 5 goes to 1, 150 goes to 30, and 3 times 30 is 90 over 1, which gives us 90. So we can say that 90 is 60% of 150. All right, so again, we're trying to find the part of this relationship. It's always percent of the whole. Okay, and remember of means multiply, so we're going to take 25% times 40 and 60% times 150. Go ahead and try the on your owns here. All right, so remember, simplify the percent first. So 90% is 9/10 times 20 gives us 18. For B, 75% is 3/4. 3/4 times 32 is 24. And finally, 10% is 1/10. So 1/10 times 110 equals 11. And that'll do it for fraction multiplication. All right, now let's look at another method that we're somewhat familiar with, equivalent fractions. So before we get started with that, remember we have the sentence A is P% of W. So part is percent of the whole. And we've been setting it up as part over whole equals percent over 100. We've been doing that for the past couple lessons. So if we have 3 out of 4 is 75%, we write 3 over 4 equals 75 over 100. So let's go ahead and look at some examples here. So we have, I'm going to use the same numbers as I did before with the other examples. So I'm going to do 25% of 40, this time using equivalent fractions. So we know 25% is 1/4. So we have 1/4 is equal to, now we're trying to find the part. We know what the whole is. It's always percent of whole. We know that the whole is 40. And now Big Ideas really likes to use A for part as the variable. So I'm going to do that. So 1/4 is equal to A over 40. Now equivalent fraction says, well, how do we go from 4 to 40? Well, we multiply by 10. So then we do 1 times 10. And that tells us that A is equal to 10. So just like we had before, 10 is 25% of 40. Similarly, we have 60% is 3/5 equals, now we don't know what the part is, but we do know the whole is 150. So what do we multiply 5 by to get 150? We multiply by 30, and 3 times 30 is 90. So A is equal to 90. So 90 is 60% of 150, just like it was before. All right, so go ahead and try the next three, the on your owns, using equivalent fractions. Now you should end up with the same answers from the other on your own, just using a different method. All right, and sure enough, you do end up with the same answers. Now the final method I'm going to show you is using cross products. Again, cross products says that we can multiply numerators and denominators of the different fractions, and they are equivalent. Okay, so again, I simplify the percent. Again, I'm going to set up our fraction. So 1/4 is equal to, we don't know the part, over the whole of 40. And this time we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to do 4a. 4 times a is equal to 1 times 40. 1 times 40 is 40. Now divide both sides by 4 to solve for a. And a is equal to 10, just like before. So again, 10 is 25% of 40. We can set up the same ratio that we did before, in the sense that 60% is 3/5, and that's equal to the part over 150. It's always percent of whole. So 150 is the whole. We're trying to find what that is, what the part is. So using cross products, we have 5 times a is equal to 3 times 150. 3 times 150 is 450. Now to solve this, we're going to divide both sides by 5. And a is equal to 90. And just like before, 90 is 60% of 150. All right, so go ahead and try the last set of on your owns using cross products, and again, you should end up with the same answers as you did with the other on your owns. All right, and this is what you should have gotten. Again, setting up the cross products, and I highlighted the cross products here, but you still get 18, 24, and 11. All right, so on your homework on the test quizzes, you are welcome to use whichever method works best. Usually it depends on what numbers you have. I really like cross products because it works in all cases. No matter how hard or difficult the numbers are, cross products is something that you can use for any type of number. All right, that does it for today. Good luck, and we'll see you next time.